Hello, everyone. Good evening to all of you from Team Recruiters. The time given for this meeting was 4 o'clock. We'll be waiting for another 5 minutes and then we'll be starting this session. Thank you so much. Distinguished delegates, participants and partakers. Designing is thinking made visual. A quotation by Saul Bass. It's a glorious moment for me to greet everyone present here on behalf of Team Recruiters. I want to convey my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed panelists from the industry for accepting and presiding over the introductory session from the series of 4 webinars on Intangible Fundamentals, a social initiative. Inspired by the thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. On a sphere to reciprocate the gains to the community, which we have earned during our spectacular journey of nearly 2 decades, working on a bilateral spectrum, dealing with candidates on one-on-one basis and rendering services without any monetary objective, an idea evolved to push our limits and dole out our expertise back to the industry in the form of a series of webinars. It is an honor and an opportunity for me It is an honor and an opportunity for me to share a platform with some of the senior and the finest professionals from the industry who are here to unveil the X factors responsible for moving up in the world on a career trajectory. The discussion would enlighten all of us present here on the magnitude of abilities other than the theoretical base and the technical efficiency one learns starting from the student life to scaling up in profession. Opening the session by addressing proficiencies other than technical experiences and specializations, a unanimous response from the industry is behavioral traits, positive personality, and pleasant communication skills. To add more to this, with increasing automation and it means that possessing and developing such intrinsic abilities are a perfect launchpad for career growth and sustainability. For any professional, learning and developing these competencies need abundance of patience and consistency, and this is one aspect required in real time to tap the latest organizational requirements. The introductory session is about intangible fundamentals, design a life you want, to discuss the vitality of life skills and their utility for stability and employability. The next in order is campus to corporate, addressing the challenges faced by entry-level professionals who aspire to enter the corporate. This forum highlights the gaps between the learning qualification and the real-time industry requirements. Subsequently, Step Up the Ladder is an assembly to break down the myths in the industry for advancement and strengthen precious and leading resources for further value addition, both to the industry and on personal front. Last but not the least under the umbrella is Scaling the Top, our determinative in this series to affirm that the height of the pinnacle is determined by the breadth of the base. Currently, we are all living in the age of information where the world has condensed in our pockets and handbags. It is a piece of cake to connect with clients, customers, team members, and our informal connections in a blink of an eye. But how impactful your connect remains makes you stand out in the crowd. It showcases how much reliable, approachable, trustworthy, and likable one remains to bag more opportunities. On this podium, our guest speakers will share insights about the secrets of better positioning of a professional and talk whiz how hard it is in the beginning. They will empower us to trust the process to improve your professional life dramatically. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. Our first speaker for the evening is Sanjay Parashar. With over 29 plus years of experience working at DRDO, JLL, RBS, to name a few, an ex-defense professional who has been working with people and with fresh engineering and management graduates at ABES Engineering College and Sundardeep Group of Institutions, definitely has the requisite ingredients to make this webinar worth attending. Over to you, Sanjay, sir.
Thank you, Molly, and the team recruiters for providing us such an awesome platform to connect with the people. Also fortunate enough to share my ideas along with Pragya ma'am and Anubhav ji, who are the leaders in corporate. Hi friends, welcome to this webinar today. We would be discussing a very interesting topic, design a life you want in this short span of time. Hope everybody wants to paint an image of him or her on an endless sky to capture everyone's eye. Dear friends, today finding meaning and purpose stands as one of the greatest pursuits of people and one of management's greatest challenges to fulfill. Some researchers suggest that 50% of those in workforce lack a sense of meaning and purpose. If we want to find deeper meaning within our lives and our work in this busy modern age, how can we ensure that our lives and work are as fulfilling as possible? When the economy crashed in 2008, award-winning product designer and innovator Aise Wirsel turned a challenging time for her business into an opportunity to reflect on this question by applying her creative design process in her life. Wirsel realized that design is imagination, and if you can imagine something, you can make it happen. So why not create your own original life? So we all are here to know ourselves and be original. We all are on this globe to prove ourselves that I am the best student, best manager, best father, best husband, best wife. Not only this, we want the best for us too. Best, best and best. So dear friend, how to become best? That is the question. So let me share a story with you which I have experienced, in fact, in my real life. Suppose a person going to marry and decided to marry, कल शादी करने का प्लान बना रहा है वो, और लड़की देखने के लिए उसे जाना है, तो अपने पापा और मम्मी के साथ नेक्स्ट इवनिंग लड़की देखने के लिए गया. वार्म वेलकम, हॉस्पिटलिटी मिलती है उसको. एक बड़े से आलीशान ड्राइंग रूम में बैठा हुआ है. दाहिनी तरफ पापा बैठे हैं, बाईं तरफ मम्मी बैठी हुई है. कहीं लड़का उठ के भाग ना जाए, पकड़ के रखा हुआ है. नाउ जस्ट इमेजिन, लेजेंडरी मूवीज वगैरह में दिखाते हैं एक बड़ा सा ड्राइंग हॉल और उसके सामने ऊपर एक स्पाइरल सीढ़ी आ रही हो नीचे की तरफ, और वहां से वो लड़की उतरती हुई आ रही है. एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम लड़का ऊपर देखता है तो उसमें क्या देखेगा? क्या उसकी ब्यूटी देखेगा? क्या उसका अटायर देखेगा, क्या उसका बिहेवियर देखेगा, क्या उसका लुक देखेगा, सो मैनी थिंग। लेकिन हम या कोई भी उसका अटायर देखेगा, आउटलुक देखेगा, और जैसे ही वो उतर कर सामने आती है, आपने ऑफर कर दी सीट उसको बैठने के लिए, देन यू स्टार्टेड कन्वर्सिंग, आपने बातचीत करनी शुरू कर दी। नेक्स्ट स्टेप जो है, नाम पूछा आपने, क्या करते हो, क्या पढ़ रहे हो, क्या करना चाहते हो, दिस ऑल काइंड ऑफ स्मॉल कन्वर्सेशन। एट थर्ड स्टेप, बीच में मम्मी उसकी बोलना शुरू कर देती हैं, भाई ये समोसे भी खाइए, ये इन्होंने ही बनाए हैं, ऑल्दो हो सकता है वो बीकानेर से मंगवाए गए हों। एंड देन एट लास्ट, जब खाने पीने का दौर खत्म हो जाता है, तो पेरेंट्स आर वेरी कंसर्न अबाउट देयर किड। वो ये कहते हैं, ठीक है भाई, आप डिसाइड कर लो, जस्ट गो ऑन द रूफ and decide among yourself, have an agreement. So by telling this experience, I was just want to tell you, there are in fact 4 factors that will decide your personality. If I link with this experience, that number 1, if you see somebody, then you judge a person by his or her outlook, the aesthetical sense, how he wear. Next is your communication, जो सेकेंड टाइम मैंने बताया आपको कि अगले लेवल पे कम्युनिकेशन आपका काउंट होता है। एंड थर्ड लेवल, इट्स योर स्किल, जो उनकी मदर ने बताया कि ये समोसा इन्होंने ही बनाया है, तो दैट इज पर्टिकुलर कुकिंग स्किल्स। So similarly, in general life, what you do, I am an engineer, I am a doctor. So this is how the skill is being asked. And at the last level, no doubt, this is very, very important factor when you are going to decide whether I should marry her or not. That is your emotional coefficient. So wherever you are on this globe, my dear friends, you will be judged by the 4 parameters. Number 1 is your outlook. Number 2 is your communication skill. Number 3, it's your technical skills. And number 4, it's your emotional factor, that is emotional quotient. Right? So similarly in this pattern, if anybody tells you, okay, tell me something about personality. What is personality? So people will tell you the theoretical aspect of it, like personality is the characteristic pattern of your thought process, feeling, behavior, which remain consistent throughout your life. But this is not suffice. You will not become a good personality person. So what else we need to imbibe in us so that we can grow in our life? Let's talk some other factors. So I would like to share my ideas about certain personality traits which will help you to understand your X factor. I have categorized these X factors in 4 parts. Number 1 is planning and organizing skills. Second is social adjustment. Third is social effectiveness. And the 4th one is our dynamism. So under factor 1, there are certain parameters which I am going to tell you. Number 1 is effective intelligence. In every enterprise, it is people thinking that generates real wealth from resources. Of all skills, thinking is the most strategic. It multiplies value. When you improve your thinking process, you improve everything. Thinking fuels and enhances all other skills, so that investment in raising thinking performance bring return in all activities. Thinking is asking the question that will reach the right answer. Second comes reasoning ability. So you should be reasonable enough. You should have logic to live a life. Why you are here? What is the purpose? Dalai Lama said, that you should remember 3 questions and you should have the 3 answers of these 3 questions with you each and every time. The question number 1, why you are here? Question number 2, for the purpose you are here, are you doing the right thing? And number 3, whether you will be a successful man. So there should be reasoning in your life. Reasoning ability comes into play every day in every situation in workplace, from deciding which work to prioritize to selecting a candidate for promotion or choosing a design for the promotional material. Reasoning ability is used in every situation. Reasoning may not just employ the use of logical thinking ability to arrive at a solution. Many factors such as individual's experience, background, knowledge, emotions also play a great role in reasoning skills. If we talk about organizing ability, it's a skill. Organizational skills are the abilities that let you stay focused on different tasks and use your time, energy, strength, mental capacity, physical space, etc. effectively and efficiently in order to achieve the desired outcome. Maintaining strong organization skills can reduce the chance of developing poor work habits such as procrastination, clutter, miscommunication, and inefficiency. So managers look for employees who can not only keep their desk organized, but for those who can also adjust quickly to the organization structure of a company. Now, very important part plays in your real life, that is power of expression. For describing this power of expression, I would like to tell you a story. There was a great scholar, Hindi scholar, named Kaka Kalelkar. Once he came late to his college और प्रिंसिपल साहब गेट पे खड़े थे. उन्होंने बोला सॉरी काका कालेलकर साहब आप लेट कैसे हो गए? तो उन्होंने बड़ा बढ़िया सा जवाब हिंदी में दिया, ध्यान से सुनिएगा. श्रीमन मैं द्विपद से आ रहा था, त्रिपद से भिड़ंत हो गई, द्विपद का अग्रभाग वक्र हो गया और वक्र को सुचक्र कराने में विलंब हो गई. प्रिंसिपल साहब बड़े अचंभित हो गए. उन्होंने बोला कि भाई ये क्या बोल दिया इन्होंने? उन्होंने बोला भाई हिंदी में बताइए. उन्होंने बोला श्रीमन मैं हिंदी में ही वाच रहा हूं. उन्होंने नहीं दोबारा बताइए. उन्होंने बोला श्रीमन मैं द्विपद से आ रहा था, त्रिपद से भिड़ंत हो गई, द्विपद का अग्रभाग वक्र हो गया और वक्र को सुचक्र कराने में विलंब हो गई. प्रिंसिपल साहब बोले भाई मुझे समझ में कुछ नहीं आ रहा है, प्लीज बोलचाल की भाषा में बोलो. तो उन्होंने उन्हें समझाया कि श्रीमान मैं साइकिल से आ रहा था, रिक्शे से टक्कर हो गई, साइकिल का अगला चक्का टेढ़ा हो गया और टेढ़े को सीधे कराने में देर हो गई. सो नाउ आप ये देखिए कि कम्युनिकेशन जो होती है, वो पावर ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन जो होता है, दिस इज द इनेट फीलिंग ऑफ ए पर्सन विच ही यूज्ड इन हिज कन्विंसिंग टू अदर पर्सन. सो अगर मैं ये कहूं अपने बच्चे को कि बेटा आप कॉलेज के गेट पे खड़े हो और आपको मूवी जाना है, आप जरा अपनी हिंदी में बताइए कैसे आप उसको रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे, ऑटो वाले को कैसे रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे. तो बच्चा कुछ इस तरीके से बोलेगा, अगर वो शुद्ध हिंदी में बात कर रहा है, हे त्रिपद के स्वामी मुझे चलचित्र ले चलने में कितने धन का उपार्जन करोगे. तो नाउ पीपल आर वेरी यूज्ड टू से यार हमें इंग्लिश उतनी अच्छी नहीं आती लेकिन हिंदी तो बहुत अच्छी आती है, बट ये देखो कि मिसिंग है. लैंग्वेज इतनी रिच हो चुकी है कि वी आर डिस्ट्रैक्टिंग फ्रॉम वन लैंग्वेज टू अनदर लैंग्वेज. So now language की बात नहीं है, we are free from this thing. Expression are the way of giving some life to the thoughts and feeling inside us. When you cry, you express sadness and disappointment. When you catch a good joke, you laugh a lot and express the pleasure. So expression are a part and parcel of every human being on this earth. Every person has right to express himself. It is only through expressions that one can achieve a harmony between the physical exterior and the mental core. It is a way of giving life to your thoughts and feeling, but not everyone expresses freely. The main reason are the barriers we have created within ourselves. We always think of what the world would think of you, think of us. Because of this, we restrain ourselves from lovingly, completely tilting our head or even scratching our ears. We try to be not what we are, but what we think will appeal to the world. Hardly do we realize that world is just like us. It will be busy thinking of what we will think of it rather than analyzing our actions. When one expresses oneself freely, it's ultimate satisfaction for the mind. जो मुझे चाहिए था वो मुझे मिल गया, जो मुझे बताना था वो मैंने अगले को समझा दिया. It is the ability of a person to express his thought clearly and put across his idea effectively, irrespective of the language. Please note down, my dear friends, irrespective of the language. If we come to another factor, that is social adjustment, we will talk about certain parameters, that is social adaptability. It is the ability to form and maintain friendship according to norms of one's peer group reflects the level of social competence of a person. It's an adjustment and adaptation to humans, to other individual and community groups working together for a common purpose. Social adaptation occurs in process of socialization and also with the aid of mechanism of social control, which include social pressure and state regulation. So when we talk about cooperation, cooperation is joint or collaborative behavior that is directed towards some goal and in which there is common interest or hope of reward. Cooperation may be voluntary or involuntary, direct or indirect, formal or informal, but always there is a combination of efforts towards a specific end in which all participants have a stake, real or imagined. Also, if you are enhancing your trait, come over to the sense of responsibility. The world is led forward by those who enable, inspire, and encourage everyone to live with responsibility. A strong sense of responsibility gives birth to innovation, resilience, courage, achievement, and generosity. Those who see themselves are responsible to life are the ones who contribute most of life. Now come to social effectiveness. Initiative. Initiative is a self-management skill, and self-management is life and work skills for young professionals. When you use your initiative, you do things without being asked, solve problems that others may not notice needed solving, and go out of your way to continue learning and growing. Next comes self-confidence. Self-confidence is an attitude about your skills and ability. It means you accept and trust yourself, have a sense of control in your life. You know your strengths and weaknesses well and have a positive view of yourself. You set realistic. If we talk about the big netas, जो बड़े-बड़े netas जो भाषण देते हैं, people used to listen them. They have not trained in a soft skills. They are not trained in a communication style, but they have mastery of their own skills. वो बहुत अच्छी तरीके से बोलते हैं, elaborate करते हैं situations को, and people are clapping like you and us. Wow, क्या बोल रहे हैं सर, बहुत जानदार. So this is what a person should be confident while he is speaking in front of the crowd. जो आपको दिल में आता है, प्लीज बोलिए. जो हम हैं उसे बताने में हमें कोई परेशानी नहीं होती. जो हम नहीं हैं उसे बताने में बहुत परेशानी होती है. हम आधे से ज्यादा इंटरव्यू इसलिए लूज करते हैं क्योंकि हम जो नहीं हैं वो उन्हें बताने की कोशिश करते हैं. हम अपने यूनिक सेलिंग पॉइंट को इस्तेमाल ही नहीं करते. हम ये सोचते हैं कि अगर मैं बहुत अच्छी इंग्लिश बोल लूंगा तो आई विल बी सर्टेनली सेलेक्टेड. इट्स ए मीन ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन. It's a mean of communication. Remember always कि आप अपनी चीजों को समझा पा रहे हैं, irrespective of language, that matters a lot. So how to ability to influence the group? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Do you aspire to be in the C-suite, leading people and driving change? If you do, you will need to master the art of influence, a skill which, like any other, can be learned. Influence can be defined as the ability to affect the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, and it requires developing a strong emotional connections with yourself and others. Those who master the art of influence are often skilled at tapping into the emotions that drive people's action. लीडर होते हैं वो. कारगिल में जब गोलियां चल रही थी तो हमारे जवान ऊपर चढ़ रहे थे और ऊपर से गोलियां आ रही थी. उन्हें मालूम था गोली मेरे सर को हिट करेगी एंड आई विल डाई. इवन देन दे आर गोइंग हाई. वो ऊपर ही ऊपर चलते जा रहे थे. सो लीडर के अंदर वो ड्राइविंग फोर्स, वो इन्फ्लुएंसिव फोर्स होना चाहिए जिसे वो इस्तेमाल करे और ड्राइव करे लोगों को. So, in fact, when Time magazine ranks the 100 most influential people globally, their largest group isn't comprised of sports stars, musical icons, or philanthropists, but leaders such as Michael Obama, Jinping, Jacinda Ardern, and Bob Iger. A leader motivates his soldier and faces the enemy even when odds are against him. A person must have this ability to inspire others and convince them to achieve the desired objective. Not with his communication, not with his communication skill, but this is due to his communication style. You should be lively enough. Put smile on your face. उंगली डालो और मुंह को खींच के रखो always, so that one can gain energy from you. It's a trait measures the extent to which someone is spontaneous, attention-seeking, lively, and enthusiastic. Right? And the last and the foremost factor, that is your dynamism. So dynamism consists of three factors, that is determination, courage, and stamina. So determination is the tenacity to succeed even after facing numerous setbacks in pursuing a cause. बहुत तकलीफ होती है, इंटरव्यू में बैठे हुए हैं, रिजेक्शन मिल रहा है बार बार, लेकिन अगर आपने डिटर्मिनेशन छोड़ दी तो माय डियर फ्रेंड पिक करने में बहुत टाइम लगता है. A great leader should be determined to achieve his target even after when it seems too difficult to achieve. That kind of daring you should have. Courage is not the absence of fear. It doesn't mean कि कमांडो को fear नहीं लगता. But courageous people do feel fear, but they are able to manage and overcome their fear so that it does not stop them taking action. They often use the fear to ensure that they are not overly confident and that they take the appropriate actions. How do they manage this? They have trained themselves to manage their emotional response to fear so that they manage it rather than it managing them. If we talk about the stamina, it is the strength and energy that allow you to sustain physical or mental effort for a long period of time. Increasing your stamina helps you endure discomfort or stress when you are doing an activity. It also reduces fatigue and exhaustion. Having high stamina allows you to perform your daily activities at a higher level while using less energy. It is a test of willpower to sustain the strain and achieve desired goal. So my dear friend, please be with the X factor with you. Try to practice these tips in life. Be original. This would bring a great change in your personality and sociability. Always remember, for a stable personality, three things matter. In Sanskrit, it is said as Mansa, Karma, and Vacha. What you think, what you do, and what you do, you speak the exactly same. So if these three traits are with you, you will be always a stable personality. Thank you very much for your impatient listening. Thank you. Thank you. Over to Molly.
Thank you, Sanjay sir, for instilling the seed to identify and build up some intrinsic abilities for a young professional to sail through the career trajectory. You guide us when we are lost. You support us when we are weak, and you constantly enlighten us by sharing your personal experiences. I request all the participants present here to put up their questions in the chat box for our panelists, which will be consequently attended by them after our discussion is over. One of the greatest values of mentors is the ability to see ahead what others cannot see and to help them navigate a course to their destination. John Maxwell. Moving further to our orator for the evening, Anubhav Sabharwal. With over 24 years of corporate experience at the very top with leading organizations, a professional who has been working with people across continents in a multicultural environment, managing different time zones, and who has had the exposure to value chain creation and management. He will be sharing his experiences and advice as a business line manager on the Intangible Fundamentals webinar series. Over to you, Anubhav, sir.
Thank you, Molly, and thank you, Sanjay ji, for that excellent session on personality traits. Uh, I agree with what Sanjay ji has been telling about, and I also believe that the identity of a person is known by his parents, then by his region or the language he speaks, and then once he graduates from the college from where he belongs. But once we start working in our professional life, we are known uh, as an individual with our successes and with our failures, or what we do for someone else or to someone else's family at large. One day, we will take only with us those good moments or good acts, what we do to others in our life. The material wealth is of no significance one day, because if Alexander was not able to take anything with him, I will certainly not be able to take anything with me. Keeping this fact in mind, material wealth is important, but we should not run after material wealth in our professional life. We acquire many qualities of childhood, of leadership, right from our childhood, from our parents, our grandparents, and society. But today I will talk to you about two myths which many times we do not understand when we start working in a professional life in an organization. The difference between the levels of life and rank in an organization. Now, uh, many time people believe that a rank or a grade is something which defines that you are in a leadership position or not. But as per my understanding, these two are very different things. Levels of life is one aspect, and rank in or a hierarchy in an organization is something very different. As per me, there are only three levels of life. That is, once you work like an individual, then as a manager, and then as a leader. This is my terminology defined for these three levels. A person, and there is no set formula or time frame when you can cross from one level to other, and a person should thrive to cross to the topmost level as early as possible. A person can hold a high rank or a grade in a company or in an organization by being a son of an industrialist or of a businessman, or a leader of a political party for being son or a grandson of a particular leader, or he can reach a high rank in organization by being a yes man. So there are many ways in which a person can hold a high rank or a high position within a hierarchy, but such people who attain high rank, um, they do not last in the memory of the people once they leave the scene. So leaders are not born, but can leaders be made? I believe that if a person is sincere and decent, he can become a leader. In this session, we are talking about the professional life. The first step in life is to acquire professional knowledge and competence and the ability to acquire skills. No one is born from his or her mother's womb with professional knowledge and competence, with only exception of Abhimanyu as per Mahabharata. Professional knowledge and competence and eagerness to acquire skills has to be acquired the hard way through hard work. There's no other means for that. And this process should go on and on in life. Even once a person attains a position of leadership in life, the urge to learn should never stop you as an individual or as a manager or as a leader. Many times people believe that they have reached the top level of life, so they stop learning. The arrogance that you are a leader now should not creep in you as an individual, and the process of learning should continue in your lifespan. As an individual in life, you must work to master the activities which you have to perform as an individual. Only once you master the activities you have to do as an individual that you can move to the next level in the life. But to reach the next level, the person must acquire other skills. The most important is the ability to make decisions and take responsibility of such decisions. This can be done by distinguishing between what is right and what is wrong. But in practical scenario, I personally believe that the situations what you have to take a decision between what is wrong and what is really bad. So that time your personal character, your personal traits, as Sanjay ji has explained, they play a very important role in the choices you take at that given point of time. But at this given point of time in life, or at this level of life, one must learn how to give and take loyalty also. So becoming a leader is not a one-day task or hearing someone in one session. It's a continuous process, and it involves a lot of hard work and practice over and over in number of years. As a leader, one must have a character to understand people, because people have problems, people have family, and a leader must have a human touch and must do anything possible in his power to help an individual. I'll give you an example at this stage of time. The example is of Captain Vikram Batra of J&K Light Infantry, who was awarded the Paramveer Chakra in 1999 Kargil War posthumously. And his famous words, "Ye dil mange more," just a few days before his martyrdom, are still on the YouTube. So when the Kargil War started, he was a lieutenant in the army, and he was promoted on the field to captain. On the fatal day, that is on 7th July 1999, when one of his fellow soldiers was critically injured in this close combat mountain warfare, and he had to pull him to safety, he did not let his fellow soldier go in line of the fire in that rescue operation by telling him that you have a family and child to go back to, and I am not even married. So he courageously exposed himself to the enemy fire to drag his fellow soldier to safety, and in the process was shot. So this act of putting himself in was an act of leadership. His rank that day was of captain in the army, but his act was above all the ranks at that day. So moving forward, a very important aspect in one's journey from individual to a leader is discipline, a code of conduct, respect of time for others. If you promise to send an email to someone on a particular time, please do so. Or if you have to meet someone at an appointment time in a different venue, please reach the venue before time. Do not make anybody wait for you. This is most essential, discipline. Now I want to speak about other three more important intangible fundamentals. Sanjay ji was talking extensively about communication. आप simple बात करिए, right? In corporate world, you have to talk simple, but you have to also talk precise. You are debriefing your manager, or you are going in a meeting where there are 10 people. That the time schedule is fixed, right? You will get only one opportunity or two opportunities to speak completely about what you are supposed to do. So it's always better when you are going into such meeting or you are meeting your manager, write down the points what you have to say and then think how you can speak the complete thing precisely in a simple way, but very precisely in the shortest time. This is most essential. You have to speak simple, as Sanjay ji said, but you also have to be precise. And this can be only done by writing it, thinking about it, and then practicing it. And it happens over the years. And especially for many young people, I could say that when they are sitting in meetings, they should observe the leaders, how in one line they are able to explain the complete situation, and just try and remember those, how they are trying to explain the complete situation, or that in the least words in one liners that people should focus on. Second aspect is when we work in organization, we condition our minds. In other words, we at times lock our mind. This could happen due to many reasons. Hence, we should look at friends or mentors in or outside the organization who should help us unlock or unblock ourselves or our mind at that stage of life. How you are able to determine that is that if you are getting similar results by same actions over a period of time, that means that you have some blocking in you. You have locked your mind on certain aspect. You have to unlock yourself, and that can only be done by somebody who is willing to observe you and criticize you and tell you where your weakness lies. Only once someone is able to criticize you and tell you where exactly you are lacking, then only you can understand and overcome that aspect. So that is most essential. So by changing our mindset at that given point of time, we can actually move to a different level. The third aspect I want to talk about is that many times now we are working in different time zones and across the political boundaries of India, say, with people in different cultures. So regarding the time zone, I suppose an individual has to spend or has to do more of a planning activity in terms of how he has to schedule his day or his professional activities as well as personal activities. So just give you an example, like day before yesterday, my manager, who's based out of Switzerland, wanted to schedule a call 4 o'clock Swiss time, which is 8:30 India time. So I had to inform my family that I will not take dinner at 8:30 but at 7:30 because that's my usual dinner time. So the planning involves not only the person but his family and his circle of influence also. Secondly, when you are dealing with people in multicultural or in a different cultural atmosphere, it is always better to understand their history and their culture, because that will make you understand how you have to interact with them, or what particular aspects could positively drive them to what you want out of them. So this is most essential if one has to do. So this is as far as my understanding goes. So I will thank you for the patient listening, and now I will give the mic back to Molly. Molly, please take it over.
Thank you, Anubhav sir, for sharing your insights and the way one should look at life far above ranks on two levels, which completely resonates with the story of Captain Batra and Abhimanyu from the epic Mahabharata. In order to build a rewarding employee experience, you need to understand what matters most to your people. By Julie Beliak. Coming on to speak now is Pragya Kumar ma'am. She has close to 3 decades of corporate experience in people management at the very top with leading organizations. She will be sharing her experiences and advice from the HR perspective on the webinar series to help you tackle diverse challenges faced on a professional career, starting from the grassroots level to the very top. Over to you, Pragya ma'am.
Thank you, Molly. And thank you, Team Recruiters, for this wonderful opportunity to connect on this forum. And a big thank you to Sanjay and Anubhav for sharing such amazing tips about how to design our lives. And I'm sure the participants have benefited from it immensely. It is really great listening to the tips provided by Sanjay on the skills, that one should focus on as we start our career. For the students, when we're talking about especially his focus on emotional connect, it is so essential for our lives at all stages of our lives. And I also really love the slide on level versus rank presented by Anubhav, and the concept that if you want to grow and really design a life for yourself that has a meaning, it's a process of having faith in yourself. It's a process of continuous learning, where you are continuously locking and unlocking what you learn as you move to the next level. It's very important to be continuously learning, as Anubhav said. Whether it's in a life in the corporate world or in the personal world, the focus definitely should not be on the material things or ranks, as he said, but on the levels. And I'm a complete believer in this philosophy. At this point of time, let me focus our lives, not in the personal world, in the corporate world, because I'm sure that's what most of the participants here are looking at, how to design their lives in the corporate world. The corporate world that we live in today, this is a fast changing digital world where technology is changing the way we work and conduct our day-to-day business. And to be able to move with the times, one definitely needs to keep pace with the same. To keep pace with the technology, the new developments that are happening every day. But in my experience, I've noticed that while we make every effort to climb up the ladder by learning new technical skills, the softer skills are more often than not forgotten. And when this happens, we fail at the top. During my career, I've often seen that we hire senior leadership roles. So when we're hiring for the senior leadership roles, that we generally look at what are the technical skills. So we hire for technical skills, but when we are finding them, more often than not, these are for intangible soft skills, as the inability to communicate, inability to lead the team, inability to work well with the team, and even a lack of diplomacy skills. We should not forget, that while AI technology is important, but while it can only replace the day-to-day work that we are doing, nothing can replace the soft skills. Therefore, soft skills is really, really important at the leadership levels. In this digital era that we are living in, companies are striving to become efficient by using technology and data. But we should not forget that it's the people who create the technology. It's the people who use the data and the technology to make an organization efficient. And therefore, every organization should work towards creating an environment in which such talented workers would want to come, and not just come, but stay. And this is made possible not by technology, but people skills, or what we refer to as the soft skills or leadership skills in the corporate world. In fact, there's been a lot of research that shows that managers who incorporate a range of soft talents into their leadership approach can actually increase the team's performance by as much as 30%. But what is it that makes a difference? I mean, why is it that they're able to do it? The reason behind this is very simple. Because these managers who use the soft talents in the leadership approach make people feel valued. They make people feel rewarded, give them a clear sense of high standards, and help them feel more motivated. And if you have a motivated team, you've gotten your job done. So what are these soft skills? The question now is, what are these soft skills? All through my career, when I look back and try and understand the soft skills of successful leaders, senior leaders that I worked with, and as Sanjay also said, we should try and emulate, and try and understand what our senior leaders are doing and try and build that into our character, as we grow up the ladder. I've also tried to observe, and there are some skills that I feel stood out. And I'd like to share those skills with you today in form of some stories. Both the speakers before me have shared that we started learning these skills early on in our life, and they've shared several stories around this, stories of Abhimanyu, stories of Alexander, Captain Batra, or as Sanjay sir said about Kaka Kalekar, which was really interesting. I believe that stories tend to stay with us longer. So let me share a story with you. So this is the story about a colleague who shared this with me. In one of my previous organizations, I was actually doing this session about, talking to managers about who were the managers in their lives and how did they observe those managers and what were those features of the managers that impacted them, good, bad, and how has it shaped their careers. And one of the stories stuck with me, and I'd like to share that story with you. This was my colleague shared this story about her first manager. When she had started her career, she was like around 6 months into the job, and they were working on a very, very important project. And all of a sudden, she had a family emergency, which was, she just couldn't avoid it. She had to go. And we've all been through our first jobs. Some of us may be freshers here who are in the list, who are in the attendees here today. But a lot of people, we have been in our first jobs, and we know how important first jobs are for all of us. As we strive to make a good impression, learn as much as we can, contribute as much as we can, and be an important member of the team. And with all these, she was needing a leave, an emergency leave. It was almost impossible to take leave, but she picked up the courage, went and talked to her manager, and the manager listened and understood. The important words here are that the manager listened and understood. And then she said, okay, go on leave, but promise me that when you come back, you will put in the extra effort to complete your part and return. So, all through this leave, while she was on emergency family leave, while she was attending to a family, but she, there was this continuous conversation going on in her mind. What will happen when I go back? Will I be able to finish my project? What will my ranking be in the team? And all these thoughts were going through her mind. But when she came back, she was surprised because the manager made sure that she stood with my colleague to complete the project and always supported her. She sat with her, made sure she was a winner, guiding her through every step. The trust and faith that she reposed in her that day made my colleague a fan of her manager, and till date she respects and remembers her. I feel if I have a manager like this, I would readily pick any job to work with such a manager. And this is what a leader does. And these are the soft skills that a leader needs to develop. You know, create a culture of trust, build a motivated team, stand by his or her team. For this is what creates a winning and a productive team. It's a very, very important for every leader to create this circle of trust. You know, another skill that I feel which is very important for everybody to have, and I'm sure this is important at every level, and because Sanjay ji also talked about it and Anubhav also talked about it, but at the leadership level, it becomes very, very important. And that's the skill of listening. And it's actually a skill. When we view leadership, you know, we often associate leadership with the concept of giving instructions, being the boss, telling the team what to do. But no leader can be a know-all. Nobody can be a know-all and be-all. You cannot always know the best way forward. In order to be able to make a good decision, which is very important for a leader to do, they need high quality input. And such input can only be achieved if we listen to a variety of ideas and deliberate on them. If we keep our mind open to suggestions, to views of others. You know, more often than not, I've seen when we walk into meetings with our own agenda and we try and steer the conversation, you know, what we do is we try and steer the conversation to our own agenda and get that agenda completed. It is important to be precise and, you know, as Anubhav said, to get your feelings across, to get your point across. But at the same time, you also have to be open to listening to what the others are saying. Because if you do not do that, we tend to miss on the bigger and the wider picture. You know, Sanjay would agree with me here that when we prepare students for interviews in the colleges, we often coach them to maneuver their meetings towards the point of view. But while it is important then, as you grow senior, you need to unlock this listening skill and learn the art of listening to others' points of view. If we only speak of our agenda, we often miss out on ideas that may come from others. In fact, you know, I would very readily admit this, that most of the new initiatives and ideas that I've implemented during my career were a result of the ideas that I listened to from my team, because they were the ones really interacting with the real organization on the shop floor. They were the ones who were in touch with the people who actually were running the organization. We were just giving it a guiding shape. And I would totally give credit to my team members for all these initiatives and ideas. Related to this, I'd like to share another story with you here. And I actually love sharing stories, because they tend to stay with you, you know, as I said. So this is the story about a senior manager of mine who I learned a lot from. And he was an amazing person and people would love to work with him. And in fact, I have always wanted to emulate him in my life. And, you know, I hope I've at least become half of what he was. He was just amazing. You know, I was once traveling with this manager for a presentation that he was to make at an event. And it was something that, you know, he must have done at least 100 times. But I was surprised that as we were going through the flight, throughout the flight, he went over the presentation twice and took my views on the presentation. He would go through every line, ask me to frame questions for him, which I thought may be asked at the event, because, you know, I was the one who had arranged for this event. And he actually noted those points. I was most impressed with him and I felt valued and I felt motivated. But most importantly, I also learned new leadership skills. the skill of practicing. Never be overconfident. As Anubhav also said, it is very, very important for you to practice and be prepared. You know, my manager had done this presentation so many times, but he was still practicing. He was still planning. He was paying attention to details. As a leader, we are always told to look at the bigger picture, but we should never forget to pay attention to the smallest of details. He went over every line and tried to understand every line. You know, while he was exhibiting these leadership skills, which I have tried to emulate in my life, he had also developed another loyal, motivated team member, me, who would give her 200% under his leadership. You know, these things are must-have skills at the leadership levels to not merely achieve the business outcomes, but also to take your team along to achieve the business objectives. You know, just because you've hired a team of people, you know, who have all the technical skills or the requisite relevant skills to be able to do a particular job, does not mean that they're willing to do it, and does not mean that they will do it. It is the job of the leader to create an environment wherein his team is willing to do it and become the best team player. That is the role of a leader. As a leader, we need to unlock the team player skills that we have learned, and as against being a team member, we become the team leader who can take the team along, who can create the environment of trust and faith through transparent communication and motivating the team to accomplish the task. Here I have, you know, another story I'd like to share, that in one of my previous assignments, I remember there was a change in a business plan, and it needed for us to immediately hire a very large team with a skill set which was difficult to find in abundance. And we told our manager that this was not possible. We're going to end up being a failure. I remember her saying that it's best to fail trying than not trying. You know, and the way she handled us, sitting with us all through the process, taking care of the fact that we were well fed too, because we were working late nights, pushing the hiring managers when we were stuck, standing up for us, and not to forget, of course, scolding us at times. But we did complete the task, and the experience was exhilarating, and it taught me a lot. I have always tried to imbibe that with me in my career, and it has also helped me create the trust with my team so that we work together as a team for every task. So being a team leader is a very, very important skill that one needs to, you know, develop and have as you become a leader. Leaders need to spend time enabling people to do their jobs. They need to walk the talk. They need to be the role model. You know, just merely getting a bunch of people into work in the same office does not become that they become a team. You know, just technical qualifications will not make them a team. The key ingredient to building a real team is to creating the teamwork. It's knowing about how to properly divide the work that needs to be done, how to combine the individual strengths and skills towards a common goal. It's also about learning to empower the team members, delegate to the team members so that they become the leaders themselves and they're motivated enough to perform. Empowerment and delegation gives a sense of ownership to team members, which can work wonders. And this is something I have experienced both as a team member as well as a leader of teams. You know, we know this and we've heard this so many times. Akela chana bhar nahi phorta. And no leader can do anything alone. You have to work with a team and be an effective team leader. This is a very, very important soft skill to master. You know, one more skill that I'd like to talk about, which Sanjay has also talked about and Anubhav has also talked about, which is something, you know, which we are taught in B schools and reminded of at every stage of our career, is the skill of communication. very important at a leadership level. But we need to unlock the meaning of the word and relearn its relevance at each stage. As you reach the leadership levels, the term communication acquires multiple dimensions. As a leader, you not only need to learn how to best put across your ideas, but also when to stop talking. And most important, learn to listen, as what I said earlier, to other people's point of view. Leaders are great listeners, and this ability is essential to forming and maintaining relationships. Another important dimension of communication at the leadership level is to be able to deliver bad news tactfully. Unfortunately, that's a very, very tough job that every leader has had to perform at one point or the other in their career. Whether it is sharing news about layoff or about bad performance reviews, or just handling some other bad news that has to be delivered. It is this ability to deliver unfortunate news tactfully is what sets good leaders apart from others. Knowing how to say no, knowing how to say no to people is also an important dimension of communication skill. As a leader, people will always come to you with ask, because ultimately you are the leader. You're the one, who takes the decisions in the organization or guiding the organization to where it goes. So they will come to you with ask. But not all asks are the ones that can be agreed upon. So you have to learn how to say a no. Do not be somebody who is always saying a yes and lands the organization in trouble. Communication is also about having the skill to criticize others respectfully and productively. Great communicators are ones who stay respectful during arguments. More often than not, I have sat in a lot of meetings at senior levels also where I see people losing the cool and a lot of wrong words that are used. Once you've used the words, once you've spoken those words, they can never go back. कहते हैं ना कि तीर कमान से जब निकल गया तो वापस नहीं आता है. And it hurts. So you have to learn how to control yourself, to criticize others respectfully, productively, and stay respectful during arguments. And you have to argue. You cannot afford not to put your point of view, not to give the counter arguments, because it's diversity of opinions that's important in any meeting that's going on. But what's more important is that you learn to stay respectful. And that is something, again, going back to it, it's what my senior manager would do, is you have to practice this every day, whether at home, whether in office. Please practice this. It's a very, very important skill, that is needed for a leader to have. Communication is not just about how to deliver bad news, but very important factor is a leader should also know how to recognize and verbally praise good work. And I believe that this is something that the leader should do very, very often. Positive words will go a long way in creating a motivated and a productive team. So, I'd like to end by sharing this difference between a boss and a leader. Bosses, what we perceive, are usually considered to be people with overbearing authority, or as we say, I've often seen these posters, and actually somebody had also put up this poster in my room. It says, "Boss is always right." But leaders, on the other hand, enjoy a more favorable opinion. They are looked upon as people who inspire others through initiative, encouragement, and trust. And if I was to ask, if somebody asks me, what is it that separates a boss and a leader? Because at the end of the day, both of them are getting the job done, whether by force or by motivation, but they're getting the job done. But then what is the difference between a boss and a leader? And the simple answer to this is leadership soft skills. We should consciously work towards building these skills in our life as we design our life. For a leader, it's no one without their team. It's all from me. Over to you, Molly.
Your presence here on this seat has been affirmative on our lives and is truly inspiring. Thank you, Pragya ma'am, for sharing your life experiences. And yes, the learnings from your stories remain with us and are indeed a great motivation. I am going to start off with some of the questions shared by our participants for our speakers now. Sanjay sir, this question is for you. It says, communication, as you rightly shared in your talks, plays an important role in job interviews and career growth. What advice would you give to wannabe professionals who are not good in their communication skills?
Good question, Molly. See, building communication skill is not an overnight process actually. Also, people are generally confused communication skill with speaking English. So I prefer and I suggest the people to stick to your USP, that is your unique selling proposition or unique selling point. So make your technical skill the star of the show. Try to express yourself convincingly in layman language. If you can have the required skill set, you are able to showcase it to the interviewer. You will be surely be hired. So definitely don't confused first of all, but a skill should have. That is, if you don't have that English speaking, then you should have the technical skill or certain skill so that you can convince your interviewer, right?
I hope this point is very clearly stated now. Moving on to our next. Pragya ma'am, this is for you. Very often we see leaders who are not technocrats. How does a leader who is not hands-on with the technology or technical work get through in managing a team which is skilled, technically equipped with relevant hard skills?
Okay, interesting. Yes, I think there are a lot of leaders who are not technocrats, but they've still been successful. While it is important, I still believe, as I also mentioned, that it's important for us to be aware of the latest technology in the digital world because we're living in a digital era today. The leaders need to be aware of what the developments that are going on, of the new changes, the new technologies that are coming in. But they need not be, an expert at everything and need not be the best technocrat around. What is really necessary is for them to be a leader and somebody who's continuously learning and updating himself about new technology and hire the best set of technical experts to achieve the goals. And a leader, even if that person is not the best technocrat, should be able to use the skills of this team to drive the organization objectives. So it's not necessary because you cannot be the know-all. You cannot know everything. But you also should have the business acumen. You should be the person who can motivate the team to take it along and to deliver the objectives. I hope that answers the question. Anubhav, Sanjay, if you have something to add here.
Yeah, you rightly said, ma'am. This is very correct. It is not only the technical skills which you will make everything. Rightly said, ma'am.
I'm sure that this part is dealt appropriately now. Anubhav sir, would you like to share what according to you is the biggest challenge a professional faces while moving up the ladder from working as an individual contributor to a manager?
I think the biggest challenge is what Pragya ji actually mentioned in her when she was enlightening all of us, that I think the the self-awareness of an individual, that he finds what he has to actually achieve. So the person himself, I think he has to overcome his own mindset, and he has to be self-aware that he has to acquire certain skills, certain competence to move up. Only when he realizes that he cannot move up uh, the value chain in the life without doing that, he cannot do. So his self awareness, I suppose, is the biggest. So as per me, Pragya ma'am, you want to uh, build or elaborate upon it more?
Yeah, and so just to build upon what Anubhav said, it's all about, when we forget to unlock when we keep ourselves in the locked mode of not continuously learning and not continuously developing, and grooming ourselves to move up to what are the skills which are needed at senior levels, as if you remember the slide that Anubhav showed about what are the different levels. We are only concerned about the ranks, but we're not looking at what are the skills that are needed to be at the different levels. So you have to be continuously learning. As what I also said was, when you're at a junior level, you are a team member, but then you become a team leader. So you have to continuously evolve and learn those new skills when you move from an individual contributor to a manager. So these are skills which are very important that one should focus on, and as you grow. So Sanjay, would you like to share anything here? Okay.
Agreed, man. Definitely. I'm agree with the same.
Very true, ma'am, Anubhavji and Sanjay sir. Thank you so much. Ma'am, once again, a participant wants to know, how do you manage a boss who is not supportive? Very important to know for most of the participants.
Very interesting. I hope he doesn't have a very difficult boss. But when you ask me this question, how do you manage a boss who's not supportive? And I'm assuming that this participant wrote the word boss, when he put the question in the chat box. That's the difference between a boss and a leader. So maybe your boss is a boss and not a leader. However, because your leader or your manager is somebody who is senior and who's reached there because of certain skill sets that they have. And, this is something that I have faced with a lot of people throughout my career. In fact, it's not as if, we have not been through those kind of issues and problems ourselves as we grew up the career ladder. And I find that and the reason why, more often than not, why this happens is because there's a communication gap. We tend to perceive things. अच्छा उसने ऐसे बोला, वो ऐसा सोच रहा होगा. उसने ऐसा किया, maybe he thinks this about me. Why? Why do we leave things to guessworks? Transparent communication is the best thing to do. If you have issues and concerns, believe me, 99% of the times, these things will get worked out with your boss. You'll be able to iron out the differences if you go and talk to your boss. Go and talk to your manager and try and understand, so what is it that the two of you can do together to change the way it's happening? Maybe you're just perceiving it different. Maybe there's somebody else, up through the grapevine who's feeding you the wrong kind of gossip. There's something wrong. So don't do that. The best way, if you want your manager's support, is to go and have a free, transparent, frank conversation with your manager. And I'm sure it'll work out for you. At least I have seen that work out 99% of the times.
Beautifully explained, ma'am. Thank you. Oh, once again coming back to campus, Sanjay sir, while recruiting, how do you assess the social adaptability of candidates?
Okay. Basically, adaptability means ability to adjust. So we access you on certain parameters like willingness to experiment, unafraid of failure, resourcefulness, able to see big picture, engage in positive self-talk, curiosity, being present. So when Pragya ma'am used to take interviews generally, I hope she certainly used to go with these parameters. So there is no vacancy in this office. Will you? Should I relocate you to Mumbai or Pune or somewhere else on pan India level? So a person confirm his adaptability or adjustability. So if you possess these qualities, you are adaptable. Likewise.
Very
So
true.
I hope Pragya ma'am will throw a good
No, this is
picture on
absolutely,
this.
absolutely. It's very important for a student to be, when we go to the campus, for people to be flexible. I mean, their adaptability has to be very strong because they're just starting their career. And if you're very set, rigid, things that you have in mind, it's very difficult for you to adapt to a social organization, because an organization is at the end of the day a social place where you need to adjust with several different kind of people.
Very good, very good.
This was quite insightful. Coming back to Anubhav sir, every professional faces a challenge once in a while when the boss is a credit snatcher. How does one counter or manages in a situation where the boss is not ready to share credit for a work performed by downline?
Okay, so I think it's uh, the question is more coming on boss. So I think if the person who's asked the question has been listening to Pragya ji, then he knows what is the difference between a boss and a leader. So she has very rightly said what is a boss and a leader. But yes, in practically in an organization, you usually find yourself in such situations. So practical answer I will say is that what Pragya ji said, you talk to him and try and try and work it out, possibly if it can. But uh, the more other approaches that one has to adopt if it is persistent for very long time, that you have to start using the power of people. You have to be in a constant state of positive mind always, because when you have somebody like who's been snatching your credit, then it creates a lot of negativity around. So you don't you burn your bridges to negativity, I will say. You be positive in that environment, and then you start interacting more with people around you, around different teams, and positively give the message of what you are trying to do. Possibly if you could also get in touch or pass on what you or your other team members are doing in a much simpler communication to your boss's manager, your n plus one, or your n plus one, or your manager's manager, then I think it can happen, but it takes a lot of time. But the first step to do that, I think, don't reach out to your n plus one immediately, but you start taking the power of people around you, around the other teams, as a means of spreading the positivity and killing the negativity around. I think that is practical. Pragya ji, आप बताइए और कोई there's
I
some
will
other way.
completely agree with you here, because yes, you have to first have this conversation. If the conversation does not go right, then you have to build that circle of influence around you, wherein you share with people as to what is that you have done, so that everybody else is aware, of what the good things that you are doing. So if you spread that positivity around you, that negativity from the manager will stop impacting you, and very soon people will notice the positive deeds that you've done. Your credit will not go away. But yes, as Anubhav rightly said, this is not something that happens overnight, and you have to have a lot of patience for this. This is tough, and it happens to people at times. It's true, but this can be changed and this can be worked upon.
Great value addition. Ma'am, would you like to share a few tips for professionals going in for their first appraisal?
Oh, so yeah, March is coming. March has come. So I guess there are some people going in for their first appraisals. Okay. So, you know, when you're going in for a first appraisal, the first thing that I've always noticed is your self-review. The first thing about a self-appraisal is what? Your self-review. You know, when you're writing a self-review, I have more often than not noted that people write their self-review, which is like very flowery language and a lot of, you know, nice things about themselves, and I've done this and I've done that, but there's no data to back it up. So I always say, you know, keep your self-review not very flowery, but more articulate and express and, you know, more to the point. Most importantly, always have the backup for what you write. There should be data. The second thing when you're doing your self-review is you also write, you know, what are your goals? What is that you would like to achieve in the next quarter or whatever is the next appraisal period that you do. Very interesting, you know, people say, I'll pick up new system design projects. Just system design projects. What if system design projects are not available in a team? You know, I'll pick up more tickets during this team. How many tickets? Make them practical, make them achievable, make them real. Something which your manager can relate to, something which your manager can measure you on, you know, when you go. So I know one of my juniors, she said, you know, I'll work on improving the NPS score. Do you know what the NPS score right is now is, and how will you do it? What is the percentage you would want to increase it by? So make your goals practical, achievable, real, and something which your manager should also be agreeable to. Once you've submitted your review, wait, and then your review period comes. Make sure, and this is another thing that I've seen, you know, I would set up the review and people would come without even having read, you know, what they had written in their self-review, or they've forgotten what they've written in their self-review, because usually this period, you know, it's like more than 15, 20 days, and sometimes even a month also, when people come back for discussions with the managers, and they've forgotten what they've written as their goals and in the self-review. Don't do that. Please read it. Read before you go. Be ready to answer the questions, practice it, review it on your own. Last but not the least, you know, one small tip that I'd like to give to all the people who are going for the first appraisal: listen to the feedback. Don't take the feedback as a negative feedback. You know, your manager's role is to groom you, to move you to the next level. And it's your manager's role to tell you where is it that you can improve. Because we all can improve. Even today, I'm sure my manager can tell me improvement tips. Everybody at any stage of their life always has scope for improvement, and so do you. So take feedback from your managers. Do not jump to defend yourself. Take time to internalize what your managers told you. If you feel that yes, you need to do something, internalize it, set up another meeting with your manager, talk to him or her about it, unless and until, you know, you feel that something is like just dramatically wrong with the way it's being handled. Do not jump in to defend. Listen carefully, internalize it, and then respond. So be very calm, and all the best for your first appraisal. I hope it goes well and you get a lot of positive as well as constructive feedback for improvement.
Bahut Sara, thank you from our participants. Nicely explained, ma'am. Sanjay sir, one of the questions says, very often young professionals face rejection on campus interviews. What is your advice to them to get them motivated for future opportunities?
I generally tell them that it's not the end of the world actually. You will get multiple opportunity in future. So rectify your mistakes and work hard on your strong points. Always play your strengths. It is not the thing that this has not happened this time and this will be forever. So realize, analyze the things which you have done in your past time, and then come up with the certain good skills with you. Enhance continuously, imbibe in yourself, seek the ideas of your teachers, peers, friends, like that, so that you can again come up with the good qualities, and certainly a person will get so many opportunities.
Very true.
Right? Anubhav sir, would you like to throw some light on this? If you missed out some opportunity, then what you will suggest?
No, I think it's precise, I think.
Pragya ma'am?
Okay.
No, completely. I mean, Jack Ma, I heard, was rejected so many places before he became Jack Ma.
Correct, correct.
You never know what future holds for you. So don't lose heart.
Don't do that. Correct.
Hope we all agree to what Sir says. Ma'am and Anubhav sir also agree to him. Well, at this particular point, I will request all the participants to share in their question for our speakers. The chat box is open. Please put in your questions there. By the time, Anubhav sir, kindly elaborate on how to manage two managers who are in conflict over territory or client. I'm sure this is very important.
Again, see, again, this is there's no set formula of handling two conflicting managers over there. It's a very, I will say, a torture time for an individual till the time both of them are clashing, and you are doing, you cannot sustain that for a very long time. But I think again the answer to that is you have to stay positive. don't 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 get involved in that negative, because whenever there is a conflict of such type which happens in organization over territory, over business and this and that, it creates a lot of negativity. Usually the leaders at the top are able to sense it and are able to correct it. Usually it happens, and it happens, uh, they are able to take that corrective action over a period of time, or they are able to correct it. But sometimes this time period could be a quarter, it could be 6 months, or it could be slightly more than that also at times, and those are difficult times. So I suppose person has to be patient and should remain positive at that point of time, and must have that confidence that yes, somebody senior in the leadership level will identify this as a problem and will correct it. So you don't run around correcting that problem, because obviously if you are a team member of a leader, and there are two people who are clashing, you certainly cannot correct that situation. But yes, by having a positive mind frame, you can overcome that time, and then maybe spread the message of positivity around. Or if you are able to convey the message in the right simple way and precisely to the leadership position, they will correct the situation in an organization. That's what I can tell you.
True. I'll agree with you here. I'll
Okay.
agree with you here.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, Pragya ji. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure this is quite insightful. There is another question. I hope Sanjay sir or Pragya ma'am, Anubhav ji, who will answer this. How to handle the taken under emotional cascade? A decision taking in stressful situation most of the time becomes benchmark for our subsequent decisions. And we heard our subsequent decisions after that poorly judged decision. How to handle the situation and come out of it. Ma'am, would you like to answer this one?
So if I've understood the question correctly, it's if I've taken a decision in a stressful situation and if that is a wrong decision. Is that what the question is?
I guess this is the same meaning.
You know, when there is a question, when there is a decision that has to be taken, I always believe that one should not take a decision when one is stressed. And it is possible that you, and a lot of times in practical situations, you have to take quick decisions. There, a lot of things going back and forth, where you have to take a decision. And when you have to do something like this, I think that's the best time when you get the, think, pause, unless and until it's just an emergency, think, pause, and also, I'm sure you have a few of your team members, that you can always bounce your ideas off and discuss with them and talk it out with them. That's what you should do, because decisions taken without any thought, decisions taken under strenuous conditions can end up being bad decisions. So it's always good to take, because time is short and you have to take the decision because you don't have any other option, business requirement is such. And especially, when I worked in e-commerce organizations, you had to take quick decisions because the world is changing so fast. You have to take those decisions. So you need to hire those, as also what I'd said, hire those people who have the right skill sets to be around you, who can help you during those distress times to take those quick decisions. That helps a lot. But yeah, if a wrong decision gets taken, be up about it and accept that it's a wrong decision and move on. Everybody takes wrong decisions. And as one of my manager always told me, जो काम करता है गलती भी वही करता है, जो काम ही नहीं करता है वो गलती किधर करता है, तो गलती ही नहीं करेगा ना. But as long as you've learned from your mistakes and move on and improve upon it, that is what will matter.
Anything on
Anything
this,
that Sanjay and Anubhav you'd like to add to it?
Yeah, Pragya ma'am, you have said very rightly that there should be a collaboration in our mind with the conscious and subconscious mind. That particular time we need to pause and assess the situation first. Secondly, we are having a great feeling, that is gut feeling. So at that particular moment, we shouldn't rely on that, on our gut feeling that we have to take this decision or I have to take this decision. Next is that is options are too much. Once you are believing in that particular situation that I am the perfect person to take the decision, please narrow down your all options so that you will take some time to take the decision. Like जब हमें गुस्सा आता है तो हम बोलते हैं 10 तक गिनती करो, 10 तक गिनती करो. तो ये जो सिचुएशन होती है ये उस समय भी होनी चाहिए. If you are a mature person, then at that particular moment also you have to count that and ask the majority also. If you feel that I'm not in a state to take any decision, I'm in very stressed, so share with your friends and share with your subordinates or share with your colleagues so that you will get time to adjust yourself and with a peace mind you can give a decision. I hope Anubhav ji. Yeah, Anubhav sir, you are not audible.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. I think what Pragya ji and Sanjay ji, what you said is absolutely right. I think in the last part when the person has asked the question, say how to handle the situation and come out of it. I think I think sometimes, I don't know this particular situation, but sometimes the person who takes a rash decision in an emotional situation, he has possibly not accepted that situation. So you are unwilling to accept the reality possibly. So if you want to come out of it, I suppose you have to accept the reality first. What has happened and what is there, it is bound to stay. it will not go away. So accept that if you have said something harsh to somebody, or you have taken action which is affecting other people, so or it has affected you, so accept that situation, and then I suppose remove the negativity from that negativity inside you, which has generated, because such emotional cascades generate a lot of negativity within an individual. So you have to accept the situation first, and then once you accept, that negativity will go around and you will find out a way to come out of it.
Very
That's
correct.
something
Very correct.
I can tell you.
True.
Okay, thank you so much, Anubhavji. And Sanjay ji, thank you so much. There is another question for you, Anubhav sir. There is a lot which you have attended around bosses, around managers. They have been having a lot of negative points, but now I guess this is another question which is a little different. I'm sure you will enjoy answering things. What specific preparation would you suggest which should be done by an engineering graduate for the company like yours?
Okay. So this is question to me and Pragyaji. Okay, I'll answer it first. See, as far as the company with which I work for, Schneider, they if a person is in his final semesters, usually our company goes to a certain set of impaneled colleges in rotation. So they go to certain colleges 1 year, then a year later, or in north. So they do it. On the campus hiring only happens from the college, and then only lateral hiring happens. So campus hiring, say if you are in that list of colleges, then only people will come over there for recruitment. It could be me or any of my other colleagues in different regions of the country or colleges where we all go. Um, yes, as far as lateral hiring is concerned, or as a matter of fact, any other position is concerned, I suppose uh, you have to prepare for interview, as Sanjay ji also said. You express yourself completely in a simple way, and mm, mm, uh, uh, just do it. But yes, especially for freshers, like many of the interns who come for their internship, and they do internship with me, and they ask me how I have to prepare for the interview. So I say that typically uh, you prepare your interviews in three formats. One is on the technical, all the important subjects, what you have done, or your final year industrial project or industrial training. You should list out the questions and the possible answers to those questions. You should document it, write it down, pen them out. Second is on the current affairs, on the economy and other subjects. If you are possibly going into a financial stream at a later stage, or in an analytic position, you're trying to target companies like that, then you should acquire more information on that and make notes of it. Third is on the soft skill part, like any interview, the question is, say, tell me something about yourself. So person starts telling me, uh, he opens up, my name is so and so, I am from so and so. So what I tell that person is that you have to answer this question in 1 minute. The your interviewee has your resume in front of him, so he knows your name. He knows all the information what is there on that 1 page or 2 page. You have to tell him about you, your personality, what is good about you, what is positive about you, what is negative about you, how you work, about your family, how what is been your building block from your childhood to now. That you explain him in 1 minute. Don't take 2 or 3 minutes about it, and you don't have to repeat things like what is already there, what the person can read. So, but that can only happen is if you write that question, and if you write down that answer, and then think about that answer, and then correct that answer, so that you are able to convey the message in 3-4 lines maximum about yourself, your positive, your negative, what you want to be in the life, and about your family, maximum. So prepare those questions on the 3 formats if you are just graduating from a college in 7th semester, or if you are in 8th semester. At least if you are in the 7th semester, I must say you should start preparing for it. It takes at least 1 year for a student to prepare at that level. And if you are in a college campus, I strongly recommend, which I go to back to my college in Delhi, and I meet up. I've been going there for last 2 years to help students prepare for interview sessions. And one thing now I find which is very lacking is that people are not doing debates among themselves. When I was doing my MBA in Delhi, I remember in the evening we used to sit down, and 4 5 of us, and we used to debate on a particular subject, on a point. And that's where the ideas come in. That's where you prepare yourself on the current affairs, on many things you prepare yourself. So 4 5 of us used to sit down and we used to do it. Nowadays I don't find that. But yes, comparatively differences, those years when I went for my interview 20 years back, we were our dress code was not that professional. We were wearing a shirt and a trouser, black and white. We are doing it. But now when I go to the college and I see all students, they are in their suits. The girls are in their suits and the tie. So the look is very good. But I will say you have to prepare for the content, and that can only happen once you prepare yourself, or you structure it out. That's most essential, and mainly on the 3: your technical skills, your day-to-day, and your soft skills. So your questionnaire, you should have like 40 50 questions, and you should have answers to that 40 50 questions. It's the same way. I don't know, um, my time we used to have वो प्रज्ञा जी आप करेक्ट करिए, संजय जी आप भी करिए, कुंजी भी आती थी पहले 10th क्लास की 9th क्लास की पॉसिबल क्वेश्चंस एंड आंसर्स की, राइट? क्वेश्चंस भी होते थे, आंसर्स भी होते थे, आती थी। अब तो
परीक्षा में सफलता पाए,
परीक्षा में सफलता पाए, तो ये भी एक परीक्षा ही है आपको, पर इसकी कोई कुंजी नहीं मिलती। You have to prepare it yourself. You have to do it yourself. And many times students come to me and I actually share with them 3 or 4 page notes which I prepared in 98 99 when I did my graduation. That you see, this is how we prepared, and it was not just me alone. It was a circle of 7 8 of us in our class who actually did that way. So I shared with many. I say, you look at this. This is a Word document made in a PC computer. Those days we were not having laptop, but yes, this is made. You see the dates and you see how it was done. So it was done that time, and simple things like I still have that checklist. Maybe I will share with you. You sleep before your main interview. You sleep early. Morning, have light breakfast. Keep 2 pairs of trousers and white shirt and ready ironed for the interview. Things like that. So we actually made a checklist. So I think that everyone has to go through that thing. So Pragya ji, आप कुछ ऐड करिए, आप कुछ ऐड कर सकते हैं।
You're absolutely correct. This is what we look at, when we are going for the campus. It's very, very important, and preparation is very important. When Anubhav said, we used to keep 2 sets of trousers and 2 sets of shirts ready. I still remember, when we were taking our interviews and we were doing it. I often used to also have a pair of sandals extra with me, just in case one sandal broke. So it's not just the shirts and trousers. Mochi khan donega us waqt. But yeah, what he actually said was, you have to be aware. So when I'm hiring at the campus, it's the technical skills. You have to be aware of what are the technical skills that the particular company is working on. So apply for it and appear for it only if that's your core strength. Be aware of what the organization is all about. Please do not, come unprepared without knowing what the organization is all about, because you have to sell yourself to the organization. And third, as what Anubha very rightly pointed out, it's all about how you have prepared yourself and how briefly and how effectively can you explain or talk about yourself when you are asked, tell me something about yourself, or why should I hire you? While we may not, this Kunji is what you're talking about. Today, Google is there. Please go up. There are a lot of questions. They may not have the answers, but there are sample answers there. Think of it. How does it identify with you? How is it that you can put it into your circumstance? But have original answers. Please do not pick up from the Google. Believe me, हम भी Google पे जाते हैं. तो वहाँ से answers मत निकालना. अपने original answers दो. That is what will help you. And that is what will help you. We look for originality. We look for sincerity. And we've been talking to people for almost 30 years now. Believe me, we understand. Experience has taught us that. So just be original, just be yourself, and you will sail through.
Thank you so much. This was a very practical advice from Anubhavji, Pragya ma'am, and Sanjay ji. Before summing up, I would take the pleasure to invite contributors from like-minded senior resources within the industry to come and join us on this platform to share their precious wisdom and understanding across their career path. Thank you all the panelists and our participants for your immense support and contribution to this episode of our series of webinars.
Thank you so much, Molly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you.
Good evening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.